My dad invited my estranged ex to a family dinner without telling me. I never thought I'd be still dealing with the emotional fallout of my early 20s. You'd think that a decade is enough time to bury whatever wreckage a person leaves behind. You'd assume you'd grow past the version of yourself that allowed certain people to linger longer than they should. If you had asked me a week ago, I would have told you I was fine. I had a steady job, a comfortable apartment, a reasonably predictable life, and a cute golden retriever named Marlowe. I had routines. What I didn't have was any expectation that my father, the man who watched me unravel in real time all those years ago, would have the nerve, the audacity, to invite my estranged ex to a family dinner without telling me. But that's exactly what happened. And honestly, I still don't fully understand how we got here. The morning everything went sideways was a Saturday, crisp and bright. That's when my phone buzzed with a message from my dad. Dad, dinner tomorrow at 6. Everyone's coming. Don't be late this time. That was it. No details. No explanation. That's normal for him. My father texts the same way he talks. I sighed and typed back. Me, sure. Need me to bring anything? He didn't respond. Also normal. I didn't think twice about it. If I had known, if I had even a hint of what he was planning, I would have blocked his number until Christmas. Let me rewind for a moment, because context matters here. My ex, Evan, wasn't just any ex. He was the ex. The catastrophic one. The one who left the kind of imprint on your psyche that you can still feel years later, like a bruise that never quite faded. We dated from when I was 20 to 22. We were supposed to be college sweethearts who made it out into the world together. We were supposed to move to a city, get decent jobs, buy a plant that wouldn't die, adopt a dog. Instead, I got gaslighting, manipulation, and a series of betrayals that still make my stomach knot. There were lies layered on lies, financial exploitation, the slow erosion of my self-worth, and a final blow that I don't talk about except on therapy days. The worst part? My dad adored him. Evan played the role of charming, respectful man with a firm handshake. He helped my dad fix the deck. He talked sports with him. He asked my mom about her gardening. He was, in the eyes of my parents and siblings, the perfect boyfriend. Nobody saw the private version of him. The one who raised his voice, controlled my social life, undermined my goals, tracked my location, made comments about my weight, and once, just once, grabbed my wrist hard enough to leave a bruise. He apologized profusely afterward, said he was just stressed, and that I made him feel insecure. It was my first real relationship. I didn't know the warning signs yet. Or maybe I did, and I just didn't want to admit them. When everything finally imploded, my family didn't take my side. Not at first, anyway. My mom cried. My dad said, "You're being dramatic." It wasn't until I moved out of our hometown entirely, blocked Evan on everything, and started rebuilding my life from scratch that they began to understand the severity of it all. Or at least I thought they understood. Apparently not. I spent most of the day cleaning the apartment and trying to mentally prepare for the usual dynamic at family gatherings. My mom fussing, my younger siblings bickering, my dad criticizing something in the house because he can't function unless he's judging a structural flaw. I dressed casually, jeans, a cozy sweater, and drove over with Marlowe in the back seat. She loves visiting my parents. She gets more table scraps there than anywhere else. The neighborhood looked the same as always. When I walked inside, my mom greeted me with flour on her apron and a quick hug. For a brief, blissful moment, I actually relaxed, until I heard a voice from the dining room. A voice I thought I'd never hear again. "Hey, wow. You look great." I froze. Because standing there, smiling like he hadn't lit 3 years of my life on fire, was Evan. I looked at him, then at my dad, who stood next to him holding 2 beer bottles like he'd just finished giving Evan a house tour. "Surprise," my dad said, as if this were some kind of sweet reunion gesture. "Surprise?" I repeated, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. My mom hurried over, wiping her hands nervously on her apron. "We thought it might be good for you two to reconnect." I stared at her, stunned. Reconnect? My dad took a swig of beer, unbothered. "You've both grown up. It's time to move past old grudges." Old grudges. That's what he called it. I couldn't speak. Meanwhile, Evan smiled awkwardly. I wasn't sure if you'd want to see me, but your dad said. My dad said? I snapped. He blinked. I thought maybe you'd want closure. Closure. From the man who once told me nobody else would love me. Closure. From the man who drained my savings account accidentally and never paid me back. Closure. From the man who tried to show up at my apartment months after I broke up with him, pounding on the door until a neighbor called the police. My mother's voice broke through my rage. Honey, please don't make a scene. That's when it hit me. They didn't tell me because they knew I'd say no. They knew I wouldn't come. They wanted to force me into a room with my ex under the guise of family unity. I felt sick. My dad clapped a hand on my shoulder like I was a stubborn child. Look, let's just have dinner. You two can talk. Hear each other out. Hear each other out. Like we were ex-business partners. Like he hadn't emotionally wrecked me. Like this was some petty dispute they could mediate over mashed potatoes. My voice shook as I said, "You blindsided me. Why would you do this?" My dad shrugged. Because you're overreacting. It's been years. I wanted to scream, but mostly I wanted to understand. Why did they do this? Why him? Why now? And then I noticed something small but unmistakable. My dad's tone wasn't just casual. It was eager. As if he had an agenda. As if Evan wasn't here just to say hello. My ex stepped closer, hands in his pockets, a rehearsed sincerity in his eyes. Could we talk privately? Just for a minute. And that's when everything inside me snapped. No, I said. Absolutely not. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to be in the same house as you. I didn't agree to this. My mom flinched at my tone. Dad let out a frustrated sigh. This is exactly what I meant by dramatic. My jaw dropped. You ambushed me with my abusive ex, and I'm dramatic? You're exaggerating, he said. Exaggerating. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My sister stepped into the room hesitantly. Wait, what's going on? I turned to her, my voice trembling with fury. Dad invited Evan. Her eyes widened. Why on earth would he? Before she could finish, my dad interrupted. Because this family needs to stop tiptoeing around things. We've all moved on, and it's time she does too. I stared at him. We've all moved on. All except me, apparently. Because I'm the only one who actually lived through the relationship. The rest of them just saw the curated version. Evan cleared his throat softly. Your dad reached out a few months ago. We've been talking. I told him I wanted to apologize to you. He said a family dinner might make it easier. My stomach turned. A few months? My father met my eyes with the absolute confidence of a man who believed he'd done nothing wrong. He's changed. People grow up. And he's been going through a hard time, so I thought. I snapped. You thought what? That I'd what? Fix him? Forgive him? What exactly did you think I was going to do? You could at least listen, he said gruffly. That's what adults do. My breath shook as I whispered. I owe him nothing. Dad scoffed. You owe your family some respect. Respect. That was it. My legs moved before my mind made the decision. I walked toward the front door, grabbed my bag, and clipped Marlowe's leash onto her collar. My mother rushed after me. Sweetheart, please don't leave. Not like this. I turned to her, a cold clarity settling over me. If you wanted me here, you would have respected my boundaries. You went behind my back. Tears welled in her eyes. We just wanted closure for you. No, I said. You wanted closure for yourselves. Behind her, I heard my dad mutter. Unbelievable. I didn't look back at him. As I opened the door, Evan called out. I really did want to apologize. I didn't answer. I walked out. I just walked to my car with my dog at my side and a hollow ache in my chest. And when I got inside and finally started the engine, something clicked. This wasn't just about Evan. This was about my family. And as I pulled away from the house, I realized something terrifying. This wasn't over. Update. I didn't cry on the drive, but the trembling started somewhere between the highway exit and the turn onto her street. By the time I pulled up outside Liza's building, I'd already blocked my entire family. One by one, without hesitation. Even the godforsaken group chat I always hated was muted and archived. I didn't trust myself to read whatever messages they were undoubtedly sending. Apologies flavored with excuses. Explanations disguised as concern. Voice notes filled with sighs and guilt. Not tonight. Liza opened her apartment door before I even knocked. She took one look at my face, grabbed my shoulders, and pulled me into the kind of hug you only get from someone who's witnessed your worst nights. "Oh God," she whispered. "What did they do?" I told Liza everything. Every word my father had thrown at me. By the time I reached the part where Evan asked if we could talk privately, Liza's jaw was clenched. I covered my face with both hands. My voice came out small. Why would they do this? Why would my dad help him? She sat beside me, tucking a blanket around my legs as if that could protect me from the emotional frostbite setting in. Because your dad doesn't get it. He never did. And he doesn't want to understand anything that makes his perfect golden boy image of Evan crumble. I swallowed hard. I blocked them. Good. It feels wrong. It feels necessary. I let out a shaky breath. What do I even do now? You stand up for yourself. Her tone softened. You've spent years shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable. Stop it. You get to choose who has access to you. And your family? They just lost that privilege. Stay here tonight, she added. I'll make a bed for you. For the first time all evening, I felt like I could exhale. I didn't sleep much. I stared at the ceiling of Liza's guest room. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's expression, like I had wronged him. By morning, exhaustion had settled behind my eyes like bruises. When I stepped out into the living room, Liza was already awake, sitting at the table with her laptop open. She looked up when she saw me. I made coffee, she said. And, something happened. My stomach dropped. What now? Nothing bad. She closed her laptop and twisted in her chair to face me more fully. My cousin Mark. You know, the tall one with the green eyes? I frowned. The one you tried to set me up with last year? That's the one. She hesitated. He saw you leaving my building yesterday. He was picking up a package from the lobby. He asked if you were okay. Oh God. I rubbed my forehead. Did you tell him anything? Only that you were having a rough day. She bit her lip. And then he asked about you. He remembered you. I blinked. What does that mean? It means he's interested. And if you want, I can. Before she could finish, the apartment door opened. Mark stepped inside, carrying 2 coffees and a paper bag. He froze when he saw me, then offered a shy, warm smile that softened his entire face. Oh, hey, he said. I didn't know you were here. His voice was calm. Liza beamed. Perfect timing. I texted you like 10 minutes ago. He lifted the coffees. Yeah, figured these were urgent. He handed one to her, then hovered a moment before offering the second to me. This one was actually mine, but you can have it if you want. I can just, grab another. She'll take it, Liza declared, nudging my elbow. Liza, I hissed. Mark laughed lightly, not mocking, more like he found our dynamic endearing. Then he reached into the paper bag and pulled out a chocolate bar. The kind I used to buy during late-night study sessions in college. He scratched the back of his neck, clearly second-guessing himself. This was mine too, but Liza said you liked these, so you can have it. I stared at him. Are you sure? Yeah. He shrugged. I'll just grab another later. It's fine. Really. It was such a small gesture. He said goodbye a minute later, giving me a soft, hope your day gets better, before heading out the door. The apartment felt different after he left. Liza raised an eyebrow. Well, I looked down at the chocolate in my hands, then at the coffee, then at the front door where he'd disappeared, and something inside me loosened, just slightly. Okay, I said. Fine. Set it up. Her grin could have powered the city. I'll text him. The date wasn't what I expected. It wasn't fireworks or dramatic revelations. It wasn't a whirlwind or a grand romantic gesture. It was simple. Mark chose a little cafe. We sat outside with Marlowe curled beneath the table, and he asked me questions, not rapid fire, not invasive, just thoughtful little invitations. He didn't push when I skirted around certain topics. He didn't shrink when I told him I wasn't ready for anything heavy. Instead, he nodded. Take whatever pace you need. We walked to a second-hand bookstore afterward. He bought a mystery novel and held Marlowe's leash while I browsed. At one point, I caught him looking at me, not staring, just watching with a soft, curious expression, like he saw me. I don't know what this thing with Mark is going to become. I don't know if I'm ready for a relationship, or if I just want someone safe to stand beside me while the dust settles. But I do know this. For the first time in a long time, someone treated me gently, without agenda. Update. Dating Mark felt like stepping into a world I didn't realize existed. Mark was consistent. If I said I liked a certain tea, he stocked my cabinet before I could blink. If I mentioned being cold, he handed me his jacket before I finished the sentence. If I looked tired, he offered to take Marlowe for a walk so I could sleep in. And it wasn't performative. It wasn't a show. It was simply who he was. He was gentle with his words, thoughtful with his gestures, and soft with his presence. A man who held doors open, remembered weird details I didn't expect him to notice, and somehow always knew when I needed quiet instead of conversation. I found myself smiling more, laughing more, sleeping better. Slowly, carefully, I let him in. 3 months into dating, Mark started spending more nights at my place than at his own. One evening, while folding laundry together on the couch, he casually said, "So, should I bring my stuff here? Like, officially?" I looked at him, sock in hand, halfway through rolling it. "You want to move in?" He shrugged. "Only if you want me to." I didn't hesitate. "I do." When he moved in, the apartment felt different, not crowded, not invaded. Just fuller, warmer, like a home. Marlowe adored him, of course. Sometimes, when I watched him cooking breakfast in the morning, something inside me unfurled, soft and terrified and hopeful all at once. I was falling for him, and for once it didn't feel like falling into something dangerous. On a Tuesday afternoon in a grocery store, I was comparing prices on pasta sauces. Then I heard her, "Sweetheart." My hand froze on the jar. I didn't turn. I walked forward, but her footsteps followed fast. "Please, please wait." I inhaled sharply, turned, and finally faced her. Her eyes were red, tired, guilty in a way I'd never seen before. She clutched her purse like it was the only thing holding her together. "I'm sorry," she said, voice cracking. "I'm so sorry for what we did. I should have protected you. I should have believed you. I see that now." My throat tightened. I didn't trust myself to speak, so I let her continue. "He shouldn't have invited him. He shouldn't have ambushed you." Tears welled in her eyes. "Your father, he won't admit it, but he's embarrassed. He knows he was wrong. But instead of apologizing, he's doubling down." I swallowed. Meaning what? Her next words chilled me. "He wants to talk to you. With Evan. Together. He said he'll go to your apartment if he has to." I exhaled slowly. "Okay." She blinked, surprised. "Okay. Thank you for the warning." I walked away, leaving her standing there. My hands were shaking, but not from fear. From resolve. They showed up 4 days later. A knock at the door. Unmistakably my father's. When I opened the door, there they were, my father stiff as stone, arms crossed, jaw set. Evan behind him, hands in his pockets. "Come in," I said. My father smirked slightly, as if my cooperation confirmed his worldview. They stepped inside. I didn't offer them seats. "So," I said, "what did you want to talk about?" My father launched into some speech about family reconciliation and moving forward. Evan started parroting apologies, scripted, hollow, the kind he'd practiced in mirrors. 2 minutes in, the front door opened again behind me. Then Mark appeared, holding a bag of groceries. My father's words trailed off. Evan's face drained of color. Mark took one look at the scene and walked over to me, placing a gentle hand on my back. "Everything okay?" he asked. I nodded. Perfect. My father stared between us. Who is this? I turned to him fully, voice strong and steady. This is Mark, my boyfriend. The man who actually treats me with respect. The man I choose. The man who is nothing like the abusive ex you invited into my life, twice. Silence slammed into the room. My father's nostrils flared. Evan looked like he'd swallowed nails. I continued. I don't need closure. I don't need explanations. And I definitely don't need an ex who hurt me or a father who defends him. My father stepped forward. Now listen. No, I said sharply. You listen. Mark stayed beside me, quiet support radiating from him like warmth. You don't get to decide who's allowed in my life. You don't get to ambush me. And you don't get to tell me I'm exaggerating when you have no idea what I went through. My father clenched his jaw. So you're throwing your family away for him? For me, I corrected. I'm choosing myself. Then I turned to Evan. And you, if you have a shred of dignity left, leave.
Now.
And don't ever show up at my door again. He opened his mouth, then closed it. Shame, or at least humiliation, washed briefly across his face as he walked out. My father hesitated, eyes flicking between me and Mark. But I stepped closer, voice low and final. Get out. He left without another word. When the door clicked shut, I exhaled shakily. Mark wrapped an arm around my shoulders, pulling me against his chest. You did amazing, he murmured. For the first time in my life, standing in my own apartment with someone who chose me gently and wholeheartedly, I realized something. I wasn't alone anymore. And I wasn't afraid.